trying to get you in your seat.
There you go.
I would like to call the meeting to order. Are there any special intentions? If not, we would like to ask Councilwoman McKinley, would you lead us in prayer, and Councilman Shorwatt, would you lead us in the pledge?
Thank you, Council President. Let's all bow our heads. God, we ask you to fill our city, state, and national leaders with wisdom, understanding, discernment, and knowledge. Grant us favor, increase our faith, and prepare us to pursue your excellence. Draw us to you and cause us to know and fulfill your purposes. On this day, please give us direction, fortitude, and grace to deal with anything that may lay ahead. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Chairman, you have a quorum. This afternoon, under resolutions, motions, and other items from the floor, at the request of the legal department, I have a request to amend the agenda. At a motion by Councilmember Brennan, seconded by Councilmember Brannigan, to amend the agenda to add an executive session discussion regarding Sylvana Whittington et al. Versus Kenner Police Department et al. 24th Judicial District Court, case number 855840, Division E. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to object to the council amending the agenda this evening? Please come forward. Seeing none, council members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. I also have another request at the request of the legal department. I have a motion by Councilmember Brennan, seconded by Councilmember Brannigan, to amend the agenda to add item 13C, a resolution authorizing a settlement in the 24th Judicial District Court, case number 855-840E, in the claim entitled Sylvana Whittington et al. Versus Kenner Police Department. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to object to us amending the agenda this evening? Please come forward. Seeing none, council members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Next, we have correspondence reports from the mayor, CAO, or department heads. Mayor Glazer.
Thank you. A couple things. One thing, we're in hurricane season now, and the first hurricane entered the Gulf last week, and the code enforcement quickly went up to 51 generator permit applications. So at Wednesday, that was the number. So they quickly getting through all of those first. So I think they're more than 2/3 the way through of getting those processed. So just, they're coming in quick. We try to get them out. Last year, I created a Citizens Advisory Committee dedicated to Kenner Recreation to kind of give some input from community leaders, some of the stakeholders in recreation, some of the coaches, and people with kids. Starting Monday, and it's going to go for about 2 months, we're going to have a citizen survey where you can go on our website. It's completely confidential. It's going to take about 7 minutes, and it's going to ask a lot of questions about recreation here in the city of Kenner. We're looking to get 1,000 responses, which is, you know, pretty ambitious to see if we can get people to take 7 minutes to talk about Kenner recreation. But it'll go up this Monday and last about 2 months. Sometime in the middle of September, it'll end. A couple of announcements here in Rivertown with our late night laser. Beginning tomorrow, we have shows at 7, 8, 9. 7 o'clock is a new one, which is Laser Bowie, which is a David Bowie laser show. 8 and 9 o'clock are 2 different Pink Floyds that we've been having. July 19th, 7 o'clock is Led Zeppelin. 8 o'clock is Laser Van Halen. And a new show, July 19th at 9 p.m. is Laser AC/DC. So I know you're going to be there, right, Councilwoman? Yes. July 26, 7 p.m. Rush 2112, 8 p.m. Laser Metallica, and a new show, Laser Schism, which is a Tool laser show. Those are actually pretty popular with the 30-year-olds. We get a pretty good showing on Friday nights. And everyone that likes Taylor Swift, this Saturday, July 13th, beginning at 9 a.m. and ending at 10 p.m., we're going to have 13 hours of Taylor Swift laser. It's a 50-something minute show. You can buy tickets in advance. The shows in the middle of the day are pretty much the ones that are, selling quickly. So if you want to go and you can get in at 9 a.m., that's your best bet. Or if you want your little kids to stay up late, the later ones at 9 o'clock at night are probably your best bet. And something that's really exciting that I can't believe it's 25 years, but Saturday, July 20th, it'll be the 25th anniversary of our space station here in the city of Kenner. So I went through it today with we had a mayor for the day, some girl from, a sixth grader from actually just outside of Lafayette came, and we went through that today, and it's actually, she found it very informative, and you can just see, like, we walk through and see what, kind of know what all the stuff, but looking at the young ones go through it, it's actually very informational. So we'll have some special guests. We have a 23-year-old girl that wants to be the first woman to walk on Mars. So her ambition is to be an astronaut. She's an astrobiologist now, and she's in training, so she's very ambitious, and she's going to be a guest speaker on Saturday, July 20th. It's from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's free here in the planetarium. And that's it for me. I think Councilman Brennan has a guest, I believe.
Thank you, Mayor. And you said that was the Glazer show? Feel free to use that, sir. Our representative, Jimmy Akins from Entergy, is here to give us a brief update on hurricane preparedness and make a few comments. So we thank him for his time and welcome him.
Thank you, Councilman Brennan, council members, for being here. As Mayor Glazer said, hurricane season's well underway. We've already seen our first hurricane impact Texas. Just kind of stay safe, be informed, be prepared. I don't really have a lot of hurricane information. I know really I'm here today to speak on behalf of the recent outages that have taken effect or been in place for the last probably 8 to 12 months out in Kenner. So I'm really here today to really speak on that. I first want to apologize to any of the constituents or residents or our customers that have experienced outages in the past. A lot of our outages have occurred in the Driftwood subdivision area. I know Councilman Lahat and I have been working side by side on this one. I think he knows about the outage before I know about the outage, and then I'm getting my information from him. That he cares about his constituents, and he's going to bat for y'all every day. So just kind of looking at the outage history thus far in Kenner, especially really diving into the Driftwood outages. We've had 7 outages involving 1,000+ customers over this past year. Some of those have been to broken equipment, lightning, human factors. We lost transmission lines during that bad storm that came in on May 17th. That took out 11,000 customers. I think not just Kenner, but Jefferson Parish people were impacted by that as well. We've had some vegetation issues and also some substation issues that have really impacted customers. So this isn't something new. This is something that we've had over the last year, and we've really been able to, our reliability team's really been able to kind of dig into the numbers and see exactly where our shortcomings are. So I've got some really good information for y'all today, specifically concerning Pontchartrain Substation, which is a substation on the corner of West Esplanade and Power, which really feeds that back Driftwood area and also the area along the lakefront back there, the Cocos Moses, Canary Anzus area up to Williams. So after inspections of our 3 critical feeders over there, we're going to allocate money to update feeders 316, 324, and 333. What this means is that we've identified 11 poles off of feeder 316, 25 poles off of feeder 324, and another 11 poles off of feeder 333 that are going to be replaced. not Band-Aided, not, just updating the equipment. The actual pole is going to be replaced to the new A1 Class 1 pole that we're using, which can withstand up to 165 mile per hour winds. Any new pole that's going into the ground, not just in Kenner, but across the state, is a Class 1 pole. So as we update our existing infrastructure, they'll be updated with these Class 1 poles. That's for the overhead reliability component in that area. A lot of driftwood, or all of driftwood, is fed underground. So we've identified portions of the underground feeders, which are 313, 316, 324, and 333, that have experienced reliability issues in that driftwood area. We are going to fund a project to begin recabling certain loops within the driftwood area in that neighborhood. So that cabling was put in the 70s. We've identified that there are some cable failures there, and we are willing to put forth, the funding to go ahead and start replacing that. That should definitely improve the reliability that we have within the Driftwood subdivision. On top of just the overhead and underground work that we're going to do, we're installing we already currently have 2 self-healing networks, which are reclosers on y'all's lines, and we're going to go ahead and fund we're going to go ahead and fund 3 more self-healing networks to help with any kind of faults that are in the line. So those are not familiar with a recloser, if there's a fault within the line, it'll be able to close and just section off part of it. We'll be able to identify an outage more quickly and get y'all back with power quicker than, let's say, I think our average response time has been about 2 hours. With these self-healing networks, we should hopefully have you in within 45 minutes or so. So it's just an easier way for us to identify the fault within the line. It's not going to affect the entire area, and it'll only affect a portion if there is a fault within the line during an outage. And then finally, substation. That substation was built in 1962. Just for reference, my parents were born in 1961. So that substation is 63 years old, or 62 years old, roughly. So what we're going to do there is that we're increasing our maintenance on our transformers. All 4 transformers are in service. We're increasing the maintenance, especially with the breakers. We've already taken an outage on T1, and we have replaced one of the breakers on there and re-greased it, so that way, in the event that there is a fault within the line that trips all the way back to the substation, it is functioning properly, not just firing once and then going out, but actually going through its routine cycle of firing 3 times before finally failing. Besides that, we have 103 scheduled tasks to be performed within the substation for the remainder of the year. That'll hopefully increase our reliability within that area. And then finally, we've done vegetation trimming on feeders 313, 314, and 323. Those have all been patrolled, and vegetation has been trimmed away from those feeders or those lines that feed the subdivision. In 2025, feeders 316, 325, and 333 were scheduled to be trimmed. We've actually pushed that up, and we're going to do cursory patrols on these feeders starting next month. So we'll trim back any kind of vegetation as needed. This is just a lot of good projects that we're going to be starting in the Driftwood area and behind Driftwood, but mostly focused on Driftwood. Now, this is not to rule out any other subdivisions within Kenner. We do understand that there have been some underground issues in the Chateau area. There have been some issues in Beachview Heights that needs to be addressed. Our reliability teams are digging into that data right now, that outage history, and we are coming up with a game plan to increase reliability there. On top of that, we have a ton of new and exciting projects that we will be rolling out in Kenner as part of our resiliency plan that was passed by the Public Service Commissioner earlier this year. Some of these include the Williams Corridor, which I know is a very exciting project for y'all. It'll run from I-10 all the way into the new treasure chest. It's basically updating every single pole there for our resiliency plan. That should alleviate some of the pressure from Beachview Heights that they have been experiencing with their outages over the past few years. And then on top of that, Chateau, we are looking at a recabling job as well, but I don't have a definitive answer for you on that one yet, as our reliability teams are still working. So there are a lot of exciting projects that are going on in Kenner. We want to be a great partner with y'all. We understand the importance of power is life. More and more people are working from home, and everybody needs power. Power is essential. So I'll open up the floor to any questions that y'all may have, and thank you for your time.
Councilwoman McKinley?
Yes, thank you, Council President. I just want to thank you for being here, updating, providing a presentation. I think that it's very important, as you said, a lot of people are working from home, and then having outages during periods that there is no weather is also frustration for our constituents. So I think that's, obviously a priority, and making sure that we have answers and we're able to push that out to our constituents. I think it's also important to note that if we have power outages during these laser shows, that it would devastate the mayor as well. And I hope that you are going to be attending some of those Hard Rock shows as well, and doing some handstands. So thank you.
Councilman Lahat?
Jimmy, thanks for coming. I think I've texted you more than I've texted my mom in the last 3 months. I think she would agree with me. I want to go to number 4 in the component. You said the upgrades, the reliabilities, things you're doing, the reclosure system, when the fault goes back to the Pontchartrain substation. And for me, having to learn all this based on what's going on, it seems like in the entire district blows with most of Driftwood, Beachview Heights, some of Vista. If a fault goes back to the Pontchartrain substation and it can't close the circuit, then that's when you hear that boom and everything goes out. Is that somewhat right?
Somewhat. So the boom could be a transformer that's gone out in your area, but if you see your lights flicker once, flicker twice, flicker one more time, and then go out, that means that the breaker on or whatever transformer that it's fed off of has gone out. So we're upgrading that equipment right now. A couple of the last few outages that we've experienced that the breaker has only operated once and then gone out completely. So we have since then, when I called you, I guess it was in June, that we had to take an outage on T1. Nobody was out of power, but we had to shed all that load off that T1 breaker off that T1 transformer in order to update the breaker. That's what we were doing. We are now hoping that if there is a fault in the line and it trips all the way back to the substation, that breaker will work or function properly and try to reclose itself 3 times before finally going out.
And if it recloses properly, as you're suggesting, the respective fault line, like a street or an area that goes out, it should only be that block of people.
That's correct.
Shouldn't be 4,000.
That's correct. So if there is a fault, let's just say a limb falls on the line for some reason and it goes back to the recloser and the recloser works properly, then it's only going to be isolated there. If it goes past the recloser and goes all the way to the substation, then the breaker needs to operate 3 times before failing, and if it goes out the 3rd time, then you'll have that mass 4,000 customer, 5,000, 6,000 customer outage.
That's the big thing we're dealing with.
Yep.
When is that going to be done? That's
done.
reclosure. So it's done.
So the self-healing networks, you already have 2 right now. We're adding 3 more. One's going to be out of Pontchartrain. One's going to be out of Snake Farm, which is off of Airline and David Drive, and the other one's going to be out of U City, which is at the Deep Kenner, as I like to call it. So,
all right. So the last July 2nd outage, when everyone out, actually Driftwood didn't go out, but Lake Trail and David Drive.
I was about to say A0333 stayed in on that one. I was very vigilant on that one, but
that was
the rest
really rare because usually Lake Trail, David don't go out. They were really upset.
Yeah.
So what happened if this reclosure system had been fixed? What happened on that date?
So which one was this?
This is July 2nd, the most recent one.
Yeah, so the recloser was fixed. It had nothing to do with the recloser. It had something to do with the transformer. So right now, because we are completing this work, we are what we called abnormally switched, which means that we have loads on different transformers right now as we continue to update this work, or update our transformers within the and when I say transformers, I'm not talking about the small ones that are hanging on the poles out there. I'm talking the large transformers within the substation. Sure. So they're abnormally switched at the current moment. We had men working on that transformer when it blew. There was no need for the breaker to even operate because it wasn't going to, because we had people working there. So that is something that was on when we were trying to upgrade the substation, which happened. I believe we got y'all back within a 2-hour period, but that was so, yeah, but still, we understand that, you know, any time without power is too long. So.
Another question, the Driftwood underground lines you're replacing, is that gonna be an impact on residents, or is there gonna be?
It's going to impact residents. I'm not going, and that's something that we are certainly trying to.
That's fine, but is there gonna be a notification system where we're gonna be, if there's a certain street y'all are gonna do this on? Because I mean, y'all have access to backyards by virtue of law. I know you can do that,
Correct.
but we need to be able to provide the residents with time. Energy's coming today, and believe me, everybody's gonna be excited. Y'all are fixing everything, so.
Right. So I don't have an exact start time on when we're going to actually start performing the work. I do know that it just got approved. It needs to go out to design with our engineering team.
Okay.
Then we'll need time for our crews to kind of go ahead and procure all the equipment and whatnot that we'll need to actually start that job. This is going to be a discussion that we're going to have with the council, myself, Public Works, et cetera.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we won't traverse anybody's backyard. We won't start work until we have all that ironed out. Then there'll be ample amount of notice in order, and to your residents, to let them know, hey, this work is going to be done. And look, it's not going to be pretty work. I'm going to be honest with you. Some of these loops are rear fed, so it's rear access in people's backyard. We're going to have to get to those lines in their backyard in order to complete this work.
There'll be some temporary inconvenience, but it'll be well received based on what we've gone through the last couple of years. So I really appreciate y'all doing this. This is probably the biggest project you've done in the Driftwood area, I think, in a long time. From
That's correct.
my review since we got built.
And just, look, we've advocated, Michelle Berg, myself, my boss, Michelle, we've advocated for this for quite some time now. So it's nice to finally see this getting done.
No, look, I appreciate it. You're always great with information. The meeting I had with you and Arita Bohannon and the Energy Executives months ago was great. So, and Eric Skrmeta too was there. So I appreciate him and appreciate Energy being on top of this and helping everybody in District 3. Thank you for coming tonight.
No problem. Anything I can do to help.
Okay, Councilman Brennan?
Thank you, Council. Jimmy, Mr. Akins, I just wanted to say thank you again for being here. And I misspoke when I said you were here about hurricane preparedness, even though we talked about it just a few minutes before the meeting. So again, thanks for everything. Thanks for keeping us in the loop on everything. We appreciate all your hard work and efforts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilman Brannigan?
Jimmy, I know when you came in, you had some big shoes to fill taking over for Patrick, and I just want to let you know you've done an incredible job, and I appreciate you getting back to us and being able to, let us tell our constituents where the problem is and basically what's causing it, and giving pretty good times that it's going to be restored by. I've been having a problem in Chateau Trianon and Chateau Desjardins area, and I know that about 2.5 years ago, there was a problem there was 3 feeders going in there, and 2 of them were bad. And I know that they were in the process of replacing those. I'll send you an email. I would like to have an update on that to make sure that all 3 of those are feeding that neighborhood properly, because they did go out when the last 2 times that Driftwood went out, it caused that area to go out too.
Sure.
So I'll send you an email either tomorrow or Monday, and if you can give me an update on that, it'd be great. But
no problem. And look, I did speak with our network today on that one. Those went out. They are fed off the Pontchartrain substation. There's like a little F shape in Driftwood, in Chateau, and then the 2 areas that you talked about that are fed off of that Pontchartrain substation. There is a recabling job in place to recable those 2 streets. I actually spoke with our network today, and they are looking into getting a time frame on when that's going to be completed.
okay, thank you very
Yes,
much.
sir. But
Keep
you
doing
can
a
still
great
send me.
job.
You can still send me the email, and I'll be
will.
more than happy to look into it
Okay.
for you again.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilman Wilmot?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, we have, and I know in the past, we've had, it seems like a huge increase in outages since Ida throughout Kenner, and many areas, not just the areas that you spoke of, but many areas. And I'm hoping that this is going to impact our residents as a whole in a very positive way, and we're going to get these outages decrease greatly. I know, I'm talking about even when we don't have storms, when we have outages, it's very frustrating to all of us. So I'm hoping that the equipment that you're talking about will enhance that so we have continued electricity without failure. And I know it's a big cost for Entergy to get these equipments updated and changed, and we appreciate all those efforts, and we're hoping that it will address the problems that we're currently having.
Yes, sir. Our goal is to eliminate any kind of blue sky, outages that we have in the area. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised, or pleased, I should say, at the resiliency plan that we have. That's going. I know I talked a lot on, or spoke a lot about Driftwood today, but upgrading that substation is not just going to help Driftwood. That is where we've seen a majority of the issues that we've been experiencing. Right. However, I do not want to isolate any other areas within Kenner, or exclude, any other areas in Kenner. We are aware of the situations that we are facing outside of Driftwood. Upgrading that substation is definitely going to help, but also the resiliency plans that we have coming in place are also going to help strengthen the grid within other portions of Kenner. And I don't have, we do have some projects already lined up. We're still working with our planning department right now on when the Williams project's going to get put in place, and some of the other resiliency projects that we have. But I will tell you that those resiliency projects have already started in other parts of the state, and we do plan to gear up on those here shortly within Kenner.
And I know we spoke probably a couple of weeks ago, and you reminded me that that Entergy has a lot of eyes on Kenner.
Yes,
and
sir.
they were looking at all the different statistics and data and everything, and trying to address it the best you could. And we appreciate your efforts. Thank you for coming tonight as well. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, are you finished?
I'm good, yeah. So,
Anybody else? Okay. Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. Aiken.
thank you. Sorry about
Appreciate
that.
your
I
time.
apologize.
It's okay. Thank you so much. Yes, next we have, at the request of the administration, an executive session regarding the following matters. Danks versus Philip Grayson et al., case number 2:21-CV-1806, and Sylvana Whittington et al. Versus the Kenner Police Department et al., 24th Judicial District Court, case number 855840, Division E. I have a motion by Councilmember Brennan, seconded by Councilmember Brannigan, to adjourn into executive session. All council members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. The council will now adjourn into executive session.
Call the meeting to order, Madam Clerk.
Yes, ma'am. We have a motion by Councilmember Sharwood, seconded by Councilmember McKinney to reconvene from executive session. All council members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. The council is back in session. If we could please call order to the audience. Thank you. Under the consent agenda, we have item 1, approval of minutes, the regular council meeting of June 21st, 2024, and that will conclude the consent agenda, Madam Chairman. I have a motion by Councilmember McKinney, seconded by Councilmember Wilmot to approve the consent agenda. All council members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Under the public appearance agenda, we have item 8, public hearings and final passage. Item 8A is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 13,589, an ordinance amending Chapter 15 of the Kenner City Code of Ordinances to provide for the operation of golf carts on Kenner City streets.
We have a motion by Councilmember Lahat, second by Councilmember McKinney. We're now open for public hearing.
We're now in a public hearing. If there's anyone in the audience wishing to address the council, please come forward. You will have 3 minutes to address the council.
Greg Taft, 5th District. I just got a couple issues with this. One thing is, and hopefully Police Chief Conley can kind of help me with this. We already have our police department pretty thin, just trying to keep up with what's going on in the city today. Now, in the neighborhoods, it's kind of sketchy. Sometimes you might see an officer, most of the time you don't, because they've got other issues they've got to work on in order to keep the city safe. But in the neighborhoods, we've already got speeders. We already got people that cross sidewalks that don't adhere to the ordinances that's already on the books. And now we're going to say we're going to let golf carts float around the city, and we're going to thin out our police department even more, because now they got to make sure that the golf cart is legal. That's number one. But number two, I don't know how a parent will prevent one of their children getting on that golf cart and floating through the neighborhood. Now, while it may not be a big issue, if that child has a wreck or that child hurts somebody, it is, because number one, the insurance ain't going to pay it because it's not an authorized driver. Or two, the other thing that could happen, they get stopped. What is that officer's put into a position where I got to arrest this 14-year-old because he's driving without a driver's license? He doesn't have the insurance. I mean, we're going to be taxing our force unnecessarily for putting out a golf cart on the streets. Now, right now in my neighborhood, I don't know how everybody else's neighborhood is, because I guess they don't have the same problem. I have a 25-mile-an-hour neighborhood going down my street. I got cars doing 40 down my street constantly. Now, you put a golf cart going down there, and they don't see that golf cart because it's not as big as a car, something's going to happen. Or if one of those golf carts come off of one side of the house because somebody went to visit a friend, they're going to get smacked, and that's going to be a real big problem. I don't like it. I'm against it. I think we're asking a lot from our police department. It already has their hands full to start working on something that really was not necessary. You don't need golf carts on city streets. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, if we could call a vote, please. All council members in favor of opening your public hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Mr. Morelli, you can go.
Al Morella, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 52 years. I'm also opposed to this, and I'm going to tell you why. We got a lot of motor vehicles running around out here uninsured. That's why they got uninsured motorists, to protect the people who are insured in case they get hit by one of these people that's not. What is the liability to the city of Kenner? I know at one time, ATVs were banned in the city of Kenner on city streets. These golf carts have got pneumatic wheels, tires, just like an ATV, only not as big. And they top heavy, and they can turn over real quick. So if somebody gets killed and flips one of them over and 3 or 4 people or some children get killed, what is the liability to the city of Kenner if that happens on our city streets? Are we protected against something like this? If this should happen, if y'all go ahead on and pass this? That's a question. Anybody can answer it. What is going to be our liability if something happens?
Al, I'm the one that sponsored this. I have a total explanation and presentation I'm going to give you in a minute, but I'll go over this in a second, but the golf cart's going to have to be required to have liability insurance, which is required by the state law under statute 32299.4. The liability would actually bestow upon the golf cart owner, not the city of Kenner.
Okay. But like I said, there's a lot of motor vehicles out here that's required to have it too, and they don't.
Yeah.
But I'm opposed to it. Whether or not we have a liability or not, it's still lives that could be lost. And I'm opposed to those just like I am ATVs. Are ATVs legal now on the street in Kenner?
No, this is not.
There's still a ban on them.
We are banned, yes.
Well,
This is not.
there's not much difference in the golf cart and the ATV.
No, there is.
Anybody got any comments, any questions? Thank you.
Seeing no further comment from the audience, I have a motion by Councilmember Lahat, seconded by Councilmember McKinney to close the public hearing. All council members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. I have a motion by Councilmember Lahat, seconded by Councilmember McKinney for approval.
Yeah. Councilman Lahat?
Thank you, Chairman D. Okay, all fair points, Mr. Teft and Mr. Morella. I'm the one that sponsored this, so there's a lot of things I want to explain to you. So first of all, state law in Louisiana, the statute I gave you, allows for golf carts to operate on the road. Golf carts are a totally different animal than ATVs. ATV accidents are widespread because there's no really blinker system, no mirrors, and a lot of the accidents involving ATVs involves children who operate ATVs that are bigger, suited for adults. They flip them and fall on top of them, and it maims or kills children. We're not in any way, shape, or form trying to license ATVs. That's strictly going to be illegal in the city of Kenner, levy everywhere. The proliferation of golf carts, a lot of beach communities have them, City of Orange Beach, 30A. It's a quality of life thing. And the cities around the country have noticed this, that people like them because people tend to talk to each other on golf carts. It's a nice family thing to do. If it's done in a safe manner, you can ride to the beach area. The goal of this, in my district, is to be able to ride to the Lake Town area, ride to the fishing pier, go to the new casino, go to Coconut Beach. A lot of the residents of Beachview Heights, Chateau, Driftwood, Vista, and then Rivertown too, of course, down here, to ride them around. To do it in a safe manner, you got to comply with the laws. You have to make sure the golf cart, number one, has liability insurance. This is a safety initiative, so it's really two things. It's a safety initiative, number one, and it's a quality of life thing, number two. I have 2 golf carts. I love them. The safety initiative is this. There are people out there who drive around things that should not be on the streets. ATVs, these little low-rider things that these kids spin around and it can hurt people. We don't want that. The people do drive around golf carts that are not legal, that don't have rear view mirrors. Seat belts are a big deal. The Center of the Children of Hospital of Philadelphia did a study back in 2019. Most of the accidents with golf carts really involve people without seat belts, people flying out of them, people operate them in a reckless manner. We need to make sure people that do ride the golf carts in Kenner, like mine, have seat belts, have blinkers, have brake lights, have the proper restraints, and there's 2 reflectors. Okay, there's 2 orange reflectors that are required under the statute. You may notice when you see people cutting grass on Power or Vintage, like sometimes they're in the street, they run down the street. They always have those orange cones. It's a state law because they are smaller, and people can't see them because they're smaller, so they have to have the orange cones. This statute we're putting in Kenner requires all that to take place, and then the orange cone is going to have a city-issued sticker whether it's a golf cart, Kansas City number, Orange Beach uses numbers. I go down there a lot, and I take a lot of notes. They put the numbers to make sure the police officers know it's registered. The last thing I want to do is add more work onto the KPD. I want them out there, you know, monitoring the streets, speeding, people without insurance. They see a golf cart and they see a sticker and they see the state seatbelts, and they're not acting in a reckless manner. And if it's not a kid driving, then it's legal, and they're going to know that. And the goal of this is for families that want to do it, is to be able to drive it around under a quality of life thing. This is not a goal for me, is to have thousands of golf carts in Kenner. That's not going to happen. It's just the people that drive them now, especially in Driftwood. We're a good little community of a parade every year. People have a little golf cart thing where people go down the street in the golf carts during the parade. And it's my goal to make it safe. I want every golf cart to have seat belts. I want them to have blinkers and rear view mirrors, so you can watch out for the safety of this. That's a safety initiative. And the quality of life, you know, I drive mine around a lot, and you talk to neighbors, you talk to people, and if you do it in a safe manner, I think it's a real fun thing. I think it's a really great idea. Councilman Rita Bohannon loves this idea. She told me she wants to buy a golf cart once we legalize this. She wants to drive to the amphitheater whenever when it's built, and I want to take it to the casino one night. Might ask them for some golf cart parking, but I've cleared this with legal. I've talked to Chief Connolly about this many times, and they're supportive, and we have gone through everything. We're basically making the registration to the city of Kenner for an annual fee. And if you don't register it, you get fined. And that's why we have to have the public hearing. So I don't want illegal golf carts on the street. They got to have, which complies with the state law of Louisiana. We can do it. I don't want ATVs on the street. I don't want unsafe low-speed vehicles on the street. I want to make sure it's safe. And to allow residents that want to do this to properly go through the right channels, and they got to have liability insurance. So if something happens, the liability policy insurance kicks in. That's what happens. You know, so I think it's a safe measure, and it's not the most important thing in the world, but it's a pet project of mine. I like golf carts. I think it's a good community thing. So we've done it right. I've talked to most of the council members about this, and the administration supports it. Everything's, we crossed the T's, we dotted the I's on the state statute and the safety measures. I'm looking forward to this. And if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to entertain them, because I've looked at this stuff a long time.
Mayor?
Yes, I just have a couple of comments. I spoke with the councilman yesterday, and he answered some of my questions. He's been working on this for more than several months, right? So
This wasn't the most important thing. I want to get to some other issues first before we got to this.
Gotcha. And so just reading it and not being familiar with the state statute that allows it, it actually goes back to 2016 when it was, I guess, first voted on in Baton Rouge. And we see them up and down the beach communities. We talked about the cities, if this passes, we're probably going to have to put signs on, for example, this legislation says you can drive it on roadways up to 35 miles an hour, which is the Joe Yennies, the West Esplanades, and Veterans, because it's not on state highways. You can't do it on interstate, you can't do it on Williams Boulevard, you can't do it on Airline Highway, and you can't do it right here behind us. It's all state roadways. And that was the concern. If you go to these beach communities, they have no carts allowed on whatever street it is, and it's at the intersections where it crosses the major, the roadways, the state highways that it can't, I guess, ride on. Which was surprising to me is Harahan and Slidell have this same thing and have been having it for a little while now. The registration is pretty much the same. I'm not sure y'all spoke about how the registration is going to be. I know he has his own ideas about how do you apply or get a tag and inspections and all that kind of stuff. But what he did say in talking is, right now you can ride a bicycle on any of these streets, perfectly legal, in the middle of the lane, with reflectors in at nighttime with a headlamp on it, and that's pretty much it. And that's kind of my first thought was, somebody's going to be driving down West Esplanade and get run over on a golf cart. And then he said, well, it's the same reflective system and the lights and the brake lights and all that kind of stuff, the blinkers as a car has. It's bigger than a bicycle, but a bicycle's legal. So that's kind of where I put that to bed. And that's only my comments on it. And we had the conversation, and look, I know, if you go in these neighborhoods now, they're all over. I know you'd be naive if you didn't go to Woodlake and they driving up and down the streets. Gabriel has it now, but it's private property, so they can drive anything they want on the city streets. Driftwood has it where they drive it around the corners of somebody's house. You know, Councilman Lahat's biggest, I guess, he wants to drive from his house down Joe Yenny to maybe go visit Councilman Brannigan. So he's got to go on Joe Yenny where it's 35 miles an hour. Yeah, so that's kind of, you know, my thinking was it's great in the little neighborhoods when you go, but, you know, he has a bigger vision of wanting to be able to drive around to certain things in, you know, North Kenner and then here in South Kenner, and that's it. So that's I put into it. He put all my concerns to rest in our conversations, you know, yesterday.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, and I want to follow up. This is to get this thing moving. Once we formalize the registration process and the inspection process, I want to do some kind of color-coded map to tell the residents what streets are not allowed on. Williams, Airline, Interstate, obviously, and to help them navigate that. So I appreciate your support on this. And that's it.
Chief Connolly?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Teff. Thank you for your concern. I have had conversations at length with the council people. I told them if they're supported, we will enforce it. I did want to be part of the registration and the permitting process and have a seat at the table for that so that I could make sure that it meets all the safety requirements of the road. In talking with other agencies that have this permitted in their communities, they said it kind of helps because it modifies speed and behavior. If a golf cart's going 20 miles an hour down the street, anything behind it's got to go 20 miles an hour down the street. The only issues in Grand Isle, they have some flaws with the beach and the line of sight and things of that nature. But, you know, I promised to support it when it came up, and we had several meetings about it. I don't think it's going to be a burden to us because, as the mayor said, you have bicycles and we have the little rat bikes and the kids on those kind of vehicles that do burden us. But these golf carts are a lot safer than bicycles. They're a lot safer than some of the other, certainly safer than ATVs. The speed's governed, and certainly, you know, if we're part of the permitting and part of the registration, we can make sure that those golf carts comply with all the signage, lightage, and lighting and things of that nature. And if it does get out of hand, I will be right back before the council, and we'll have to do some modifications, but I did commit that I would support it if that's the will of the council and the blessing of the administration, that, you know, we would work together to make it work.
Councilman Wilmot?
Yeah, I appreciate Councilman Lahat's enthusiasm for this, and I know he has a golf cart or two, but I'm not a fan of this legislation. I do have problems with it. Specifically, the most important thing, I guess, is they're limited to roughly 25 miles an hour. They're manufactured to do 25 miles an hour or less. And the way this legislation is drafted, it's going to go on streets that are up to 35 miles an hour. There's a 10-mile difference there. And we're talking about Joe Yenny Boulevard, Vintage, West Esplanade, Veterans Highway, Roosevelt, West Napoleon, West Metairie, and Loyola. Those are all major thoroughfares through our city. And people are going to be riding golf carts. It's going to cause traffic issues, backups. I think it's problematic in itself. We're going to have to put signage up throughout the city. The entire city, we're going to have signage up. It says in the appropriate areas. Now, it's not going to be on Williams Boulevard. It excludes Williams Boulevard. It excludes I-10. It excludes Jefferson Highway. Those are state highways and federal highways. So why are we bringing this? I've been on this council now for 7 years. I haven't had one person tell me I want to ride a golf cart on a City of Kenner roadways. Never. 7 years. But yet we're doing it now. Has there been a study to determine the importance of this and whether or not it would be beneficial to the City of Kenner? I think not. I didn't hear of any study. I think it needs to be done. In fact, I'd like to see this legislation deferred, and I'm asking for a 2-meeting deferral so this thing can be looked at closer. And I'll move on that now. Thank you.
Do I have a second to the deferral? No. Seeing no discussion, motion fails. Lack of motion, second.
Councilman Brannigan?
Well, I think that throughout the city of Kenner, when you look at all of the different neighborhoods, there are a lot of golf carts running around now, and basically, I see them in my neighborhood all the time. So, and you don't know if they have the proper equipment for the safety features on the golf cart. So if we approve this legislation, then if it becomes a nuisance and a problem in the future, we can always go back and rescind it and make it illegal to drive golf carts on the street. But I think it would be safer to have the golf carts registered with all the safety features that are needed to make sure no one gets hurt, you know, just riding around in a golf cart now or causing a problem. So, you know, my thoughts are, I like the legislation, but if it did become a nuisance, and that would come from the police chief, Chief Conley, and if he came to me and said we having major problems with golf carts, then we would have to reverse the legislation.
Councilman Wilmot?
As far as rescinding this legislation, once you let the horse out the barn, it's out the barn. People are going to be buying golf carts or could be buying golf carts, and trying to rescind it later would be very problematic, in my opinion. I think this is where it needs to, something needs to occur now. If you're going to do anything, this is at the beginning of it. Because once, again, you're going to have people go out there and depend on this legislation and say, oh, I heard it passed, so I went and bought a golf cart, now you're telling me you're rescinding it? That's problematic.
Councilman Lahat?
Yeah, brief reply. This legislation is not intended for thousands of golf carts to be in the Kenner roads. It's intended to make it safe for people that have them now and a few more that may want them. I've had people in Driftwood that want them, probably 10. They've told me they want to buy one once it's fully legal. This is not going to be something that's going to be hugely problematic. We can always review something later in the legislation if something needs to change. 35 miles an hour is mainly put in there so people can really cross. I don't intend people are going to be going down West Esplanade very much on these things, but even if they do, bikes and the lawnmowers and stuff will have the same reflector under state law, which I don't think some people are considering, that the state law absolutely allows this. This is not something foreign or out of the blue. The state law, Louisiana 32:299.4, allows us to do exactly what we're doing now. So I urge for everybody's support.
Councilman Wilmot?
And I appreciate that as well, Mr. Lahat, Councilman Lahat. 32:299.4, basically it sets it up. It says it's illegal to do throughout the state unless it's followed by the following provisions. And so it sets it up that way, so it's illegal automatically throughout the state. This gives exceptions, and we have to pass this law to make it an exception for the city of Kenner. So it just doesn't necessarily allow it. It actually prohibits it unless we pass legislation. So just to make it clear, thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, council members in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
Motion passes 5-2. Councilmember Wilmot and Brennan are opposed. Item 8B is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 13,590, an ordinance amending Chapter 15 of the Kenner Code of Ordinances to provide for registration provisions. I have a motion by Councilmember Brannigan, seconded by Councilmember Lahat, to open the public hearing. Council members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. We're now in a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the council? Please come forward. Seeing none, I have a motion by Councilmember Brannigan, seconded by Councilmember Lahat, to close the public hearing. Council members in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. I have a motion by Councilmember Brannigan, seconded by Councilmember Lahat, to approve. Is there any discussion?
Councilman Wilmot?
Yeah, Chief, if you will, can you give us an explanation on this? This is your legislation, I believe.
Yeah, it's basically mirroring the state law. As you know, and we've been very public about our challenges and our issues with the fake plates and the fraudulent plates and how that opens up the door to, non-documented or insured drivers. We've been applying the state law. We can't track these defendants. We can't, deal with recidivism and enhanced penalties and whatnot because it goes to a different court. This brings those cases here to mayor's court so we can better track them, follow them, and make sure that if it's the same defendants that we can deal with them directly and keep an idea of who's committing these crimes in the city. We're actually hoping, and that's just an overview of the intent of this, but there's a lot of issues. Last month in June, we had over 40-something arrests involving either fraudulent plates, no driver's license. And that, a golf cart's a welcome challenge when you're dealing with issues like this, dealing with the federal government and HSI and trying to get a handle on this. So we did reach out to the city and the city attorney's office to try to bring this stuff local so the officers and the system here can keep a good handle on who the main offenders are and what happens to them.
Seeing no further discussion, council members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Item 8C is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 13,594. An ordinance authorizing a public hearing and approving the proposed fiscal year 2024 annual action plan of the Community Development Block Grant CDBG program and the Home Investment Partnership Home Program Grant for the Community Development Department. I have a motion by Councilmember Dunn, seconded by Councilmember Wilmot, to open the public hearing. All council members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. We're now in a public hearing. Is there anyone in the public wishing to address the council? Please come forward. Seeing none,
Wait.
Juan Jones, Director of Community Development. This is just our annual grant from HUD, all for this year. It's $526,000, a little less than what we got last year. So, anybody have any questions?
thank you, Mr. Juan. Seeing no further questions, I have a motion by Councilmember Dunn, seconded by Councilmember Wilmot, to close the public hearing. Council members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. I have a motion by Councilmember Dunn, seconded by Councilmember Wilmot for approval. Any discussion on the approval? Seeing none, council members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Item 9 is ordinances for the sale, purchase, transfer, lease, and/or alienation of a movable property. We have none. Item 10 is opening of bids. We have none. Item 11 is reclassification of zoning for final passage. Item 11A is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 13,588, an ordinance approving the re-subdivision of lots 14 through 24, lot 32A and 34A, and the 7.5 portion of the revoked alley in square 461 that abuts the aforementioned property, square 461 Highway Park subdivision, into new lots W-1-A, X-2-B, and Y-3-C, square 461 Highway Park subdivision, Kenner, Jefferson Parish, Louisiana, and amending ordinance number 11,062 entitled Unified Development Code of the City of Kenner, amending and rezoning lots W-1A, X-2B, and Y-3C, square 461 Highway Park subdivision from RR1 Single Family Residential to SI Special Industrial, and directing, authorizing, and empowering the planning director for the City of Kenner to alter and amend the official zoning map of the City of Kenner, Louisiana, which property is owned by Scardino LLC I have a motion by Councilmember Sharwood, seconded by Councilmember Lahat, to open the public hearing. Council members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. We're now in a public hearing, and we have the Planning Department to give us a presentation.
Thank you. Yeah, Council President, just very briefly, I just wanted to give a quick overview. This property is located in an area with where most of the airport buyout land is, and in an area that we've rezoned similar properties in the squares surrounding this over the last several years. The site is completely undeveloped. It's never been developed, I don't believe. It's possible there were some homes on there, but I couldn't find anything. It is completely, it is zoned RR1 single family. However, it is completely, here it is, the zoning for the surrounding property. And just wanted to show you real quick, it is completely surrounded, as you see in red, by airport buyout land. So none of the land in red will ever be able to develop residentially again. And the applicant is requesting to re-subdivide. The re-subdivision is a legal re-subdivision. It meets all the requirements for lot size and square footage of our subdivision regulations. And the rezoning request, the Planning Commission recommended approval because it is in an area that is dominated by airport buyout land. This land will never really develop residentially, and it's much better for the city for it to be put back into some type of commerce. And rezoning it to special industrial will allow that. That concludes. If you'll have any questions or?
Yeah. Councilman Sherwood.
Just to kind of alliterate on this, all this property around there is already or mostly zoned S1. So by doing this, we're not impeding on anything, we're not changing anything except for from RR to S1. And it's just going to go with the other properties that surround it.
It's completely surrounded on the square that the subject site is all airport land except for the property owned by the applicant. Everything else around it is airport, was bought by the airport.
Correct. I'm in favor for it, yes.
No further discussion? I have a motion by Councilmember Sharwood, seconded by Councilmember Lahat to close the public hearing. All council members in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. I have a motion by Councilmember Sharwood, seconded by Councilmember Lahat for approval. Council members in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Item 12 is other ordinances for final passage. Item 12A is summary ordinance number 13,604. An ordinance amending the City of Kenner Code of Ordinances, Chapter 10, Article 10, Section 10-200 to add block party to the definition of a public gathering. I have a motion by Councilmember Brannigan, seconded by Councilmember McKinney. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, council members in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Item 13 is resolutions and motions by council members. Item 13A is a resolution requesting the Jefferson Parish Legislative Delegation to support an endeavor to transfer $2 million of state capital outlay funding allocated to the Kenner Fire Department Facility Replacement New Fire Station Project Number 571870 from the Priority 5 funding classification finalized in Act 5, House Bill 2 of the 2024 regular session to the Priority 1 funding classification for the Kenner Fire Department. I have a motion by Councilmember Sharwood, seconded by Councilmember Dunn. Is there any discussion? Mayor?
Yes, all this is our formal request from y'all to, I guess, support or send, once this resolution is adopted, our local delegation will have that local government supports them trying to move capital outlay money from, right now it's in priority 5, which we don't have the money, it's just sitting there allocated to a project. If it gets moved to priority 1, that's real dollars that we can use to build one of the 2 fire stations that we're pretty much, one's designed, one is going to be going into design to move the City Hall Fire Station on Williams closer to our public works yard, or at our public works yard. So this is just a formal request of our legislative delegation to support it next legislative session. So that's all it is. It's just a support of us wanting that money moved.
Councilman Wilmot?
Yeah, considering what the mayor just said and what the legislation reads, I'm asking that we all join in and as supporting this document. If we can add everybody's name on, I don't know if everybody's interested, but I certainly am. And if we can put, I don't know if the mayor and police chief want to join in as well.
Mayor, are you okay with that? All council members, would you like your names put on it? Please nod if you would.
Please.
Chief, you want your name on it too? Absolutely. Okay. Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Seeing no further discussion, council members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Item 13B is a resolution authorizing a settlement in the lawsuit entitled Danks versus Philip Grayson et al., case number 2:21-CV-1806. I have a motion by Councilmember Dunn, seconded by Councilmember Lahat. All council members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Item 13C is a resolution authorizing a settlement in the 24th Judicial District Court, case number 855-840E, in the claim entitled Savannah Whittington et al. Versus the Kenner Police Department. I have a motion by Councilmember Dunn, seconded by Councilmember Brannigan. Seeing no discussion, council members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Item 14 is items removed from the consent agenda. We have none. Item 15 is acceptance of contracts and similar matters approved by the mayor. Item 15A is summary ordinance number 13,595, an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from the Flying Locksmiths of New Orleans to provide locksmith services as needed in accordance with letter bid 24-2130 and an amount not to exceed $25,000 annually for the General Services Department.
We have a motion by Councilman McKinley, second by Councilmember Wilmot. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this item? Council members in favor, say yea.
Yay.
Any opposed, say nay.
Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Item 15B is summary ordinance number 13,596, an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Metal Studs LLC to supply sheet rock and related materials as needed in accordance with letter bid number 24-2132 and an amount not to exceed $25,000 annually for the General Services Department.
Motion by Councilmember Brennan, second by Councilmember Dunn. Anyone wishing to speak on this item? All council members in favor, say yea. Those
Aye.
opposed, say nay.
Seeing none opposed, motion passes 7-0. Item 15C is summary ordinance number 13,597, an ordinance approving an agreement with Blue Williams LLP for legal services in an amount not to exceed $200,000 annually for the legal department.
Motion by Councilman Wilmot, second by Councilman Schwartz. Anyone wishing to speak on this item? Council members in favor, say yea.
Yay.
Any opposed, say nay.
Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Item 15D is summary ordinance number 13,598, an ordinance approving a cooperative endeavor agreement with the parish of Jefferson to return unexpended funding previously provided to the city of Kenner for the design and construction of a Laketown entertainment stage.
Motion by Councilmember Lahat, second by Councilmember Brannigan. Anyone wishing to speak on this item?
Yes.
The mayor.
Just a brief explanation. This was given to the city from the parish for designing a stage out in Laketown. Being that we have a much larger pot of money in a much larger project being designed. We return this money back to District 4, so Councilwoman Rita Bohannon can use this as a design today, so we're not waiting around 6 months waiting for other monies to come in before the project starts in the design phase. So the money was given to us for this project, and we're just going to return it to her office so she can use it today to pay the engineers and architects designing it.
Anyone else? Motion by Councilmember Hat, second by Councilmember Brannigan. All in favor, say yay.
Yay.
All opposed, say nay.
Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Item 15E is summary ordinance number 13,599. An ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from J. Chen's Plumbing LLC to supply plumbing services labor only in accordance with seal bid 24-6837 and an amount not to exceed $100,000 annually for the General Services Department.
Motion by Councilmember Brennan, second by Councilmember Wilmot. Anyone wishing to speak on this item? Council members in favor, say yay.
Yay.
All opposed, say nay.
Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Item 15F is summary ordinance number 13,600, an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Vulcan Incorporated, doing business as Vulcan Signs, to supply reflective sheeting as needed in accordance with letter bid 24-2131, and an amount not to exceed $30,000 annually for the General Services Department.
Motion by Councilmember Wilmot, second by Councilmember Brennan. Anyone wishing to speak on this item? Council members in favor, say yay.
Yay.
All opposed, say nay.
Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Item 15G is summary ordinance number 13,601, an ordinance approving a professional services agreement with Linfield, Hunter, and Junius LLC regarding a drainage pump station Phase 1 in the immediate vicinity of Duncan Street at Reverend Richard Wilson Drive, State Facility Planning and Control, FP&C project number 50-MF1-22-02, and an amount not to exceed $3,118,168 for the Department of Public Works.
Motion by Councilmember Dunn, second by Councilmember Schwartz. Anyone wishing to speak on this item? Councilman Wilmot?
If we can just get an explanation, Mr. Gonzalez?
This is the direct result of a drainage study that was performed back in 2020 by a consultant firm retained by the city to study drainage problems in South Kenner, specifically South Kenner between Williams Boulevard to the east, I think maybe Alliance of Farrar to the west, the railroad tracks to the north, and the river levee to the south. The results of the drainage study dictated the need for a pump to the river drainage pump station. As the result of that study, the city at the time and currently applied for state capital outlay money, and the city was successful in obtaining $1 million last year and an additional $600,000 this year towards, the start of engineering-related services for the project. And what this will do, by approving this line item, it would allow us to engage with a consultant to start the design process. And while the design process gets underway, the city will continue to lobby for state funding and federal funding to construct the pump to the river station.
Thank you for that good explanation. Thank you. That's all.
Okay. Motion by Councilmember Dunn, second by Councilmember Showart. All in favor, say yay.
Yay.
All opposed, say nay.
Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Item 15H is summary ordinance number 13,602, An ordinance authorizing the purchase of computer equipment and related items on an as-needed basis from Howard Industries Incorporated, doing business as Howard Technology Solution under State of Louisiana contract number 44000-29119 in an amount not to exceed $50,000 annually.
Motion by Councilmember Wilmot, second by Councilmember Brannigan. Anyone wishing to speak on this item? Council members in favor say yea. Yea. All opposed say nay.
Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Item 15I is summary ordinance number 13,603, an ordinance approving amendment number 1 to the agreement with Digital Engineering and Imaging Incorporated for professional/architectural related services on an as-needed basis to increase the not-to-exceed amount to $125,000 and to extend the agreement by 2 years for the Department of Public Works.
Motion by Councilmember McKinley, second by Councilmember Brannigan. Anyone wishing to speak on this item? Council members in favor say yea. Yea. All opposed say nay.
Seeing none, motion passes 7-0. Item 16 is ordinances and resolutions in summary for first reading. Item 16A is an ordinance authorizing the issuance of the not-to-exceed $7 million limited tax bonds, Series 2024 of the City of Kenner, State of Louisiana, in one or more series, prescribing the form, fixing the details, and providing for the payment of principal and interest on such bonds, and for the rights of the owners thereof, and providing for other matters in connection therewith. Item 16B is an ordinance approving an increase to the not-to-exceed amount established by ordinance 12,187 adopted March 2nd, 2023 to furnish generators, towable and stationary, on an as-needed basis with ARCO Company Services Incorporated, utilizing state contract number 44000263221 by $300,000 annually for the Department of General Services. Item 16C is an ordinance ratifying an emergency purchase of 25-ton air conditioning system for Buddy Lawson Gym in the amount of $52,947 from Beacon Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration Incorporated for the General Services Department. Item 16D is an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Christmas Village LLC to supply Christmas lighting as needed in accordance with letter bid 24-2133 and an amount not to exceed $50,000 annually for the General Services Department. Item 16E is an ordinance authorizing a 12-month policies and training solution management system subscription service with Lexapol LLC in the amount of $74,882.70 for the Kenner Police Department. Item 16F is an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Bayou State to supply electrical supplies on an as-needed basis in accordance with sealed bid number 24-6839 in an amount not to exceed $250,000 annually for the Parks and Recreation Department. Item 16G is an ordinance approving a franchise agreement with Unity Fiber Gulco LLC for the rights to conduct the business of acquiring, maintaining, constructing, laying, repairing, removing, replacing, installing, operating, and disposing of a fiber optic communications transmission system. Item 16H is an ordinance approving an agreement with Meyer Engineers Limited for professional services in connection with the Fassbender Community Center roof repairs in an amount not to exceed $49,000 for the Public Works Department. Item 16I is an ordinance approving an agreement with Cannon Cochran Management Services Incorporated for insurance claims services in an amount not to exceed $90,000 for the legal department. Item 16J is an ordinance approving an amendment to the agreement with Regional Transit Authority for transit services to add termination provisions to Section 5, General Terms and Conditions. Item 17 is reports from the council and/or special committees.
Chief Connolly.
Yeah, I'd just like to say in regards to Mr. Teft, I appreciate his concern and his patience. We have been successful in recruiting. We have moved 4 more officers into the traffic division, and we've been very proactive going after the temporary tags, the fraudulent tags, and the problem we have in the city, to the point to this date, since June 1st, I think we've made over 80 arrests. We have a mandatory arrest policy for the fraudulent tags or the no licensed drivers, and we do report those to HSI. Today, just about 3 hours ago, a stop was made with the same situation, a fraudulent plate, non-licensed driver. He was wanted by us for domestic battery violence, but he also had a warrant out of Indiana for molestation of a juvenile, the equivalent in Indiana. So, you know, our guys are out there working hard. Our attention has turned, you know, to concerns with the traffic, with the non-licensed drivers and the fraudulent tags. We are having, unfortunately, success, and we continue to stay that aggressive and proactive in that regard. We have another academy that will be getting out in August and hit the road training. Our last academy just finished their FTP training. They're on the street training, so you will notice more officers out there. So we are, thanks to this council and this administration, moving in the right direction. But I just want to give an update that, you know, the police department is aware of the problem, and we've acknowledged the problem and gone public with the problem with these fraudulent tags and non-licensed drivers, and we hope we're putting a dent into it, but we're not going to stop until, you know, there's a resolution and the problem's resolved. Thank you.
Persons wishing to address the
No,
council?
I'm sorry, no. We have item 18, new business. We have none. Item 19 is unfinished business, or motions to reconsider or remove from a tabled position. We have none. Item 20 is persons wishing to address the council on special subject matters.
Al Morello, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 52 years. I have a special intention, or a special mention. Tuesday marked 42 years ago. Pan Am Flight 759 crashed in South Kenner. 145 on board were killed, and 8 of our citizens on the ground were killed, and wiped out an entire neighborhood in South Kenner. Now, I want to respond to some comments that was made here at the last council meeting. I'm going to direct this first one to you, Jose Gonzalez, and I'm going to respond in this way. I want to extend an open invitation to Mike Yenny to come down here to the next Kenner Council meeting and explain that $80 million bond issue that went through when he was the mayor of this city. Second response, I want to direct to you, Councilman Brannigan. How can a piece of equipment break down over a 10-year period, like you said, equipment breaks down over the years? We all understand that. But how could a piece of equipment break down over a 10-year period that was already broke down 10 years prior that was never fixed? Now, I'm not going to yield my time to you. You can answer when I'm done. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the Kenner Housing Authority at the meeting Tuesday night. Contained in my packet was a letter on the Kenner Housing Authority letterhead stating we no longer need an officer at our table, and it was addressed to Chief Conley here. Now, 3 things lead me to question who drafted that letter. Was it the Housing Authority or the chief? And the reason why I'm saying that, number 1, the timing. Number 2, the contents of the letter. And number 3, everybody's so big on emails nowadays, they look at me when I tell them I don't have an email as I should have something. Okay, what's that?
Time.
About 3 minutes is up already?
Yes.
You better look at your watch, Councilman Dunn, because I don't believe that.
Yes.
I haven't been up here no 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Oh, yeah? Okay. We'll pick it up at the next meeting. Thank you.
Mr. Taft? No. Chief, do you want to?
Yeah, I would just say that, Mr. Morello, I didn't write this letter, if that's what you're insinuating. You brought up concerns at the past couple meetings about an officer not being in attendance. I reached out to the executive. I asked them if it was necessary. You know, I have a duty that I got to deploy my people where they're needed, so certainly, out of respect to you, I checked with the authority. He said they weren't needed. I asked him to give me something in writing. He did, and the letter basically said that they have no need to have an officer at our monthly meetings. It's a waste of KPD manpower. Those officers are better suited to serve the needs of the Kenner residents. If there's a need, we can make a 911 call. As a response time for Kenner is excellent. So, you know, that was done after your urging, basically. You know, I did that out of respect to you, because certainly if the executive director or any of the members said, no, we need one, then I would have agreed with you. But I don't go to those meetings. I don't know, I don't feel a temperature. I know that we work with the board as far as investigating applicants for the voucher program. We do have people assigned to the Housing Authority, but at any time, if the director, if any of the commissioners call, we do it for other boards and commissions that the city has. We'll get a phone call if there's a hot button topic or there's a large attendance, and we send somebody. And I offer the same thing to Mr. Boardlawn. So for you to think there was some kind of coercion or some kind of, you know, some kind of mischievous act on anybody's part, I'm kind of insulted because I did that out of respect to you and your request. So, you know, I'm sorry if you can't take what Mr. Boardlawn said, but it's as simple as that.
Mr. Gonzalez?
At the last council meeting, I indicated to Al that we have searched our records, okay, for quite a while to try to find an $80 million sewer bond program, and we were not able to find any records pertaining to an $80 million sewer bond program. However, we did find legislation dating back to September of 2011 relating to a $16 million, 1/6 sewer bond program. And I have a copy of such legislation here. But again, I got to reemphasize that we spent a lot of time looking for legislation or records, you know, relating to an $80 million sewer bond program, and we have not been able to locate that. Personally, I don't know who else would come in and try to search for records and find anything relating to an $80 million sewer bond program. Now, over the years, we have applied for DEQ loans. If you add all those DEQ loans and add this $16 million sewer bond program, it's probably going to get close to that $80 million that Al is talking about, but nothing specifically for an $80 million sewer bond program.
Anybody else? Councilman Brannigan?
Mr. Morello, what I said last meeting was that things are constantly breaking in our wastewater facility, and basically we're constantly fixing things in the wastewater facility because of use. Machinery does break, and I don't know where you're getting that. It's something was not fixed 10 years ago or 15 years ago, or whatever, wherever you're pulling this out of. But what I said is that we have things that are breaking because that plant gets used 24/7, 365 a year. So if you have some data or some paperwork showing that we didn't fix anything, produce it.
Mr. Taft, you have 3 minutes.
Greg Taft, District 5. I just want to make just a couple comments, if I can. One of them is that I'm going to go on record to say that we probably have the finest police department and the finest fire department probably in the state, if not even in the country. I mean, every time I see that things come about, it looks like we're getting them done quick, and it looks like we're saving lives, we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, and I just personally want to say thank you, because I think that's what makes a good city the best city, because safe is everything. The other thing I just want to ask is that our city employees also deserve recognition. Because when they're out there in that hot sun, I got to tell you something, that's brutal. You know, I've been cutting my yard every 3 days because my grass keeps growing faster than I can keep up with it. And I got to tell you, that's a chore for me, and I can imagine our people out there working 8 hours in that hot sun. I can imagine what they're going through. And I just think that it's commendable that we've got employees that are willing to go out there and do that, and I think we owe them a great deal of gratitude for helping to keep our city in the shape that it's in. That being said, the only other thing I wanted to ask is that at some point, can we find out what it would actually take to overhaul our sewage system? What it would actually cost us, and what maybe, and it doesn't have to be answered today, but a plan that maybe takes it out 5, 10 years that we could have that were completed, because that seems to be a big drag on the city. And right now, as you know, we're going to be paying a lot. The water bills have already started hitting, and I know mine jumped way up. So, you know, where are we going to go with it? I know we've got the money that's coming in to go there, but where's the plan going to take us? Is it 5 years, 10 years, to finally get our sewage system up to where it's supposed to be? Forget the past, because whatever the past did, they didn't do it. I mean, it's just that simple. Because I've been a resident here since '77, and I got to tell you, that's been a hot topic ever since I've been here, and it seems like it keeps getting worse. So I just want to see at what point we can see the end of the tunnel. And that's it. That's all I have to say tonight. Thank you.
Mayor Glazer?
Yes. To give you an estimate on, well, first thing, these, if you've ever been to any sewerage or any of our sewerage lift stations or the treatment plant, you'll realize you can put something that's made out of steel there tomorrow and go back 6 months later and it's totally rusted and corroded from the gases and everything that goes on in a sewerage system. Once the fees went up, we knew someone was going to act on what's the priority list of our sewer system. Not including the broken pipes that are underground, we have identified 26 of our 84 lift stations and identified which one needs to be done first, like 1 through 26. And they all range from 1.4 million or 1.2 million at the cheapest to $2 million. So all 26 is $37,800,000 for 26 lift stations. That's not including the over 4 million just to do the clarifiers at the treatment plant and all the lines that run under the ground. So that's a lot of money to incur at one time. So we'll prioritize what needs to be done, but just in 26 lift stations, just to rehabilitate them, it's just under $38 million. So you looking at, I can get, probably Jose would tell me I'm crazy if I put a number on it, but I would say you can put probably a good dent in doing your sewer system at about $90 million. We'll give you a good set. But you realize once we do priority number 1 and you get to priority number 6, priority number 1 is probably limping along and needs some attention. So we got 84 of them. And that's just the nature of the business. This stuff, it wears out quickly because of the environment it works in. And jokingly, I was going to say in the mayor's comments, I was going to congratulate the wastewater department because they finally came to one council meeting without one emergency repair. So that's,
Wow.
At least they pulled that off. But that's, look, we've identified 37 million just on 26 of them that we need to do today. And it's just a matter of getting it done.
Councilman Lahat?
Yeah, Al brought up Pan Am Flight 759. Virginia and I are good friends with Missy Ferreira, Tran Ferreira, the miracle baby that day. And I texted her a picture of one of the articles that's in the KPD police station in that hallway. And she said she's never been up there, and she's been wanting to go up there a long time to see all that and look at all that documentation. It took her a long time to come to grips with everything. But I told Missy, I'm sure Keith and the administration would love to have you one day just to see all that documentation, a picture of her when she was a baby and what happened, and she still remembers all the responders, the firemen, the police officers, all their names that had contacted her over the years. So I'm pretty sure it would be good. We can accommodate her one day. We can bring her over. I'll come and let her just look at everything and take a photo with her baby picture. But she was happy to see that. So I just wanted to put that out there. And of course, we got to remember that day, which is a tragedy in the city.
She's been invited.
You've been invited?
She's been invited and pretty much has always declined. So
I'll get her there this time.
Yeah.
Councilman Brannigan?
Well,
Brannigan, I'm sorry.
if fixing the sewer plant costs $90 million, if Jose could find the 80 million, that'd be great, huh, Mayor? It's not there.
He doesn't want me to put 90. He's probably going to say it's twice that much, so.
Anyone else? Councilman Showart?
Thank you, ma'am. For those who don't know, I want to wish my wife a happy 43rd anniversary today. Without her, thank you. Without her support, I definitely would be sitting in this seat today. But sweetheart, I love you and thank you so much.
We all agree.
Anybody else? I just have one statement. The mayor finally got rid of that fly. I make a motion that the meeting is adjourned.